So Neka will join here as well.
Sounds good. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, I can.
Okay.
Yeah, I've not heard from our people, by the way. Is it just you and I on this line? Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. Now they've gone quiet after I filled that form. Oh, I forgot we're
Yeah, we can talk afterwards.
Yes, yes.
Okay. I'm sending you a WhatsApp.
Okay.
Hello, Neka here.
Hi, Neka.
Morning, Neka.
Hi.
Hey, you made it. Hello.
Hi, welcome. Nice of you to join us.
Thank you.
I think we're just waiting for Tola to join us, and then I think we'll be good to go.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm here.
Oh, you're already here? Oh, okay. I should have put the waiting room so I know when everyone was jumping in. Okay. Hi, welcome to the call. First of all, I just wanted to say that we're really sorry for the delays that we've been having on this project. It's mostly my fault and just because of my life circumstances and everything. And I hope, I hope you understand, but like we're working our best to make sure that we're able to be done with this part of this process so you guys can move forward with everything that you need to do. So yeah, that's it. That said, can you guys see my screen?
Yeah.
Yeah. I think what we'll do is I will just start off with kind of like an overview of what the brief is. So we can set the expectations, and then Tola will take us through the identity presentation that we've put together. So, and then at the end, we can take comments and questions that you may have regarding it. And does that work for everyone?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, sounds good. So, I mean, you've seen this document before. This is Flexable provides non-dilutive growth capital to tech and tech-enabled businesses and payback as you grow, and to help them thrive at your pace. So thrive at your own pace. That's really important because that forms kind of like the heart of the promise or the claim that Flexable is making for tech startups and tech-enabled businesses. What we're trying to do with the identity was to fit the brand personality that we came up with when we did the brand sprint and everything, which is like a relatable, everyday, massable appeal kind of brand, but also willing to challenge the status quo while being young and innovative. And so these were like the characteristics that we had in mind and we used as a constraint when we were coming up with the identity that we're about to present. In terms of the keywords, we have this large list, but the most important keyword that we really zoomed in on was like flexibility. Because that I think one idea that we latched onto, we definitely wanted to reflect in the identity that we had, because that was, every time I remember when we were having those initial conversations, that was the word that kept coming back over and over and over again, to the point that it inspired the name, and now we want it to inspire kind of like the identity that we have. So that is what it is. Tola, are you ready to take over?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So yeah, tell me where you want me to go.
Okay. So I guess yeah, we can just start from. All right. I think first of all, I'll just say that in working on this design, one thing that was very key was trying to come up with a design that was friendly and approachable. That was very key because you kind of know that the emotion to anything that is finance related can come with a lot of pressure, can come with a lot of anxiety. And it can also be something I remember my first, not my first experience, but my experience with a lot of fintech platforms. One thing that comes to my mind is, can I trust these guys? Number one, would I understand what it is they are offering? Would I understand their platform? Would I understand their language? And it's something we feel even when we go to traditional working banks. You understand? When they give you that form, you're like, I don't want to feel something, I don't want to make a mistake because this has to do with my money. And so you want people to feel at ease. And I think going through our discovery process, I realized that that's also paramount for you guys too. You want people to be able to feel like you can relate with them. So that was the inspiration behind the design. I think I start presenting now.
Okay.
All right. And so this is the design. And as I said, it was basically something we were thinking of relatable, simple, something that it's not complicated and it looks human, which is something a lot of fintechs don't have right now, where it doesn't look, it looks very corporate and it looks very unapproachable. Even though sometimes the languaging tries to sound friendly, you keep looking at the identity and it just seems like what you see in your normal, traditional financial type institutions. So we wanted to be as laid back as possible. And we wanted to be able to communicate primarily with the typeface, with text. Nothing, no bells and whistles, just something that could almost look like someone wrote this thing down. And that's why you see with this identity, there are two parts. There is the flex and able. And just like we had to think about in coining this name, we had to come up with these two words in putting this together. The same way too, we wanted it to be evident in the identity, that this is a coming together of two key qualities that this brand has. But at the same time, we didn't want people to look at them as two separate words. And we read in your feedback, the last feedback, you were like, okay, let's make the able like capital just to show sturdiness, which makes a lot of sense. But at the same time, we wanted to avoid people calling it flex able. We wanted to take out that pause. We wanted it to be like a word, a buzzword. So it's like flexible. And when you create that kind of divide, whereby it's such a hard divide, whereby one is lowercase, one is uppercase, people kind of call it flexible. And you realize that when people start to write to you or communicate with you, they will put that space there, even though it's not in the logo, because that space is there in their mind. So you call it flexible. So we wanted something that rolled off the tongue very easily. So we kind of made that divide not too obvious. So you can see with the flex, we kind of have that free flowing, handwritten type kind of typeface, which was very intentional in terms that we want to be like, as I said earlier, somebody wrote this thing. It's very human. And so it almost looked like something that someone can write. So the first thing was to try to get a handwritten typeface. And then we kind of looked at the able. You can see the able is simple too, but you can see it's more organized. It's more it has more structure to it in terms of typeface. But they work together well. And so it's not a hard divide we have going there. You can go to the next slide. And this just emphasizing the words we kept in mind while working on this to help us guide us so that we wouldn't be designing for ourselves. Because the thing is, we design, sometimes you are in that space where you design your preference. So you're like, oh, I like this font, I like this color, I like this. But then we had to keep looking at these words: young, innovative, friendly, relatable, rebellious, caring. We had to look at those words and let those words guide us. So at every step of the way, we're like, does this fit into these key personalities? That when people just look at it, of course, when they look at the logo, it doesn't come with these words, young, innovative, friendly, relatable, but it's something that it must subliminally be communicated to your audience. So, you know, and looking at this, we're like, okay, this looks young. And that's why we really stayed away from uppercase characters. Because the thing about uppercase characters is that they are so strong, it just makes you feel like, if, oh man, I don't think this is accommodating me. You understand? It almost seems very corporate. So I look at that: young, innovative, friendly, relatable, rebellious. And when I look at being rebellious, when you look at this, you know, it's not your traditional brass. You understand? It's not traditional. It's not like all those other people that are competitors in your space. You understand? It almost just looks so laid back and so easy to use, which is what we want, the emotion we want to be able to communicate to people. Can go next slide. So, and something that was also very paramount was, we know that it will be it's imperative that you have a short form of the logo. Not particularly a dedicated symbol, but a short form, something you can use as a favicon or use as an app icon or stuff like that. The short form. So I just want to reiterate that this short form is never going to be used alongside the full logo, but it is going to be used on its own when we don't have the space, the luxury of space to use the full logo. But we know that going forward, we want people to be familiar with this thing. So we might be using the full logo more often than we use the short form, so that people don't get confused. But it was very important that we try to make the short form of the logo something that you could look at and just say, oh, that's the F. So we try to make that F as unique as possible. I think the F for us was a big challenge, because we were thinking, we want this thing to be simple, but we want an F. So, you know, we're kind of thinking of the traditional F, which is like the umbrella type F with the stroke in the middle. But we were thinking, how unique can that be? And then we kind of thought, okay, let's humanize this thing. I kind of looked at, okay, when people write in cursive, this is how they write F. And this F kind of stands out, is more unique than the other traditional F that we are taught in schools. We're like, okay, we can really own this as the flexible F, as opposed to the Facebook F or the Fiverr F, or, you know. So I really don't see too many brands using this F. So it was easy for us to adopt this over the more traditional F. You can go. All right, so if you look at it, I'm sure you might be asking why you have that dot at the end of it. And, you know, with logos, the thing is, you want to put something subliminal there, something that allows you to tell a story. And working on it, you know, we didn't want to put the traditional money or something that shows growth or a leaf. Those things were too ubiquitous. You know, you see them everywhere. So we're like, and we thought of this dot, which just seems very innocuous, but it's packed with meaning. And that's why it's something that you might think, oh, the dot is not there, but it should never be used without the dot, because the dot does mean a lot. And here the dot symbolizes a coin. I know the coin is like it's like the most elemental, the smallest, the earliest form of money. You when money was standardized, it was coins. So coins kind of form the seed for anything money. No matter how much you disregard them, it starts from there. And I think that's very important to this business, and because you've shown your passion for young businesses that are at the early stage trying to grow, just like a coin. You understand? A coin can seem irrelevant, but at the same time, it's from a coin that you grow into bigger things, higher forms of currency. So, and the coin is very important there. So it's put there to just show that people are that nothing is too small to start with. Nothing is too small to start with. So it's like a drop that keeps building up to build an ocean at the end of the day. So that's the rationale behind having that small design element there that is very significant. You can go to the next slide. All right, so brand colors. And with the brand colors, we thought about it, and with colors, just like with names, it's getting harder and harder as a brand to own a color. It's so hard. I can almost say it's impossible. Just like it's hard to own a unique domain today, because there are so many businesses. There are millions of businesses out there, hundreds of millions of businesses. So how do you own a color? Even if you're in a particular space, someone has done it before. So we kind of looked, and when working on this, one of the first colors explored was orange, because orange just seems like it's friendly, it's vibrant, it just has this balance of friendly, vibrant, yet corporate. And when you start thinking one way, just know that other people are thinking that way too. So when we started doing the research, we looked at Move, we had that orange going for them. We looked at Tap Global, they have that orange triangle going for them. So if you look at the Linear website, they have like orange, dark orange highlights. And we kind of thought, okay, so let's go the opposite direction. So if you look at the color wheel, you see the orange, the yellows, the reds are one side. On the other side, you kind of have the blue goes, the purple, the greens. And we're like, okay, no, definitely not green. That's too expected. You see that coming from me. But we're now looking at, okay, can we go directly opposite orange and just see so that it can stand out? And that's why you have the color wheel to guide you, so that it contrasts the color opposite it. So we're looking at, okay, when it's placed in like a seminar or a conference where you are going to have your competitors come there, your store will stand out because it contrasts those guys that just use orange, you understand, or some bright colors that just show hope, you understand. But we are going to just try to, the most important thing here is to be memorable, you understand. With the friendliness, we've kind of solved that problem with typeface, but with the color, we're going to go the opposite direction so that we can stand out. And so this is just for, we chose this color basically for it to stand out in the competitive landscape. Let's Okay, so here we're just trying to look at, okay, what would it look like if we were to, what we've been seeing so far has been, we had purple like on white, and now we're going to like kind of say, okay, let us inverse it if the logo is white. And we kind of sees that, okay, it works well, the contrast is strong, it's still very readable. Because there's this thing about working on a logo in a color, and when you make it all white, it kind of can seem jarring. But we see that it works here. So that was the intention of making it look this way. So going on for that, you see the logo used in this way more, which helps you in digital space or in the traditional print. If you're printing out, I would say use the logo on white background. But in digital space where you're not having to pay for colors used and stuff like that, I would advise that we use more of the solid, strong colors that can catch attention. Yes, you can go next slide. So here we're kind of exploring, okay, how do we think it will work in as an app on the phone? And so kind of tried out, okay, what would it look like on the form, on the banner at the top? And the thing is just aiming for that friendly, approachable, easy to use. And that's why you see, even in the languaging of what we are writing, just to guide you guys in how you want to communicate. So you want to sound professional, you want to sound friendly, you want to sound accommodating, you want to sound empathetic. And that's what we're trying to try out in this image, just to see what it looks like if we're going to be designing with it. So again, from this design, we're kind of recommending the kind of font you can use that would really contrast the logo.
Hello, hello, Tola.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, I think we lost Tola for a minute. Maybe internet went off. Yeah, I mean, if I were to just jump in here, from I guess the last slide, we're just exploring ideas on how to make use of the identity. So in terms of like making use of the actual artifact, the logo itself, but then what's the vibe, what's the energy, what's the tone of voice? And that's what we wanted to capture, because what we're designing is more than just like a logo. It's like this brand, this whole positioning that we want to push. So yeah, I just wanted to squeeze that in there. I'll send a message to Tola to figure out. I imagine it's just his network, actually. Yeah.
To have lost Neko.
NECA has dropped off as well. Oops, thank God we're recording it then. So, yeah, I guess, how much more do we have? I think we only have 2 more slides. In the interest of time, maybe we just move forward. Okay.
Since recorded, yeah.
Since we're already done with the major part. So yeah, still just supporting the idea. So in terms of like the imaging that we want to use, we always want to come up as like this friendly, accessible brand and company. And so definitely a lot of pictures of people smiling, eye contact with messaging that's like, you know, we support you, we're here to help you, we are for you. How can we help you? Those types of things, just like really accessible messages, things like start, grow, thrive. And then I think it's really interesting to see how the contrast between this like sans serif font contrasts with the bold type logo that we have at the bottom. So that's kind of like why we put this last slide, like I said, it's just to capture the mood or the vibe or the emotion of the brand itself. And this is kind of like an idea that, you know, if this was used as a, like on the website with a landing page and, you know, how would it look like? What would that look like? And we try to create kind of like a mock-up of that to capture that mood. So yeah, all in all, that's the presentation. That's what we have. And that's why we have it. We wanted to do this presentation just so you understand like our thinking and all of the decisions that came into us landing where we are. So yeah, that's it for me. That's it from us. I don't know if you have any like feedback or conversation, comments, like, or
Yeah,
like response. Yeah.
I do. So first of all, I just want to say big thank you to you and Tola and your entire team, the way you've immersed yourself into what we're trying to build and really I feel like thinking like us, and I appreciate that. Also all the work that you've put in to come up with, I mean, to me, it's like the outer skin of what we are, right? Like this identity. And also, coming up with the logos. I know we gave feedback earlier, and I know that you're both busy. I know Yinka particularly with, this new new period in your life. So thank you so much for all the work that you've put in. I just have two comments. First is, okay, with regards to, I don't know if I'm using the right words, but the font, I guess. I noticed that, so to me, in the previous sample you gave us, that flexibility was more obvious than it is in this one. The difference between the flexibility and the able was more obvious. And I don't know if it is just because that F linked to the L, which also, like I'd given you some feedback from someone else. I didn't see it, but someone else saw it as AEX. So yeah, I guess it's a decision one would have to make. Do we go with it joint or do we go with it separate? But just the comment is that for me, when I look at this compared to the previous logo, I see that flow better in the other logo than I do in this one. So that's one. Or maybe it's also that there were two different fonts used for the previous one. While here, I think it's the same font across the entire thing, but I'm not sure. Second now is the color. Now this color, I get what you're trying to do. You look at all the competitors, you see where their sort of color theme, what it looks like, and then you go in the opposite direction. The challenge with this is that I feel like there are quite a number of businesses that use this color, and a big one right now is Kuda Bank. And Kuda has such huge presence. They're everywhere on every billboard. You're driving across Lagos, you see Kuda Bank everywhere. And this is the color. It's very similar to that color. So, and they're in the fintech space. They're a digital bank. They're not particularly what we do, but they're still in this space. So I feel like it's too close with an extremely big brand that is very visible, very present. And I had suggested to Yinka, was it possible to do some sort of ombre sort of effect? Now, you look at Google, and I think Flutterwave, their new color scheme is like rainbow effect, where, they're using multiple colors to, I guess, for their branding or whatever it may be. I was wondering if we could do something a bit similar without using the whole range of rainbow. So let's say if we chose two colors like, green and blue, that blend into each other. I think that could be different, and you could have the flex have more of the variability in the ombre, and then the able be a firm color. The final darkest bolder color. I don't know how that would look visually, but I was just wondering if that's something we could try out. Those are my two comments. Thanks. Nick, I don't know if anything else.
Yeah, thank you so much, Tola and Yinka, for the presentation. It's obvious that a lot of work went into it, and really, really, really appreciate it. I mean, in addition to what Dolly has said, I don't have a lot of comments, but just, I like the way it reads, right? I really like the way it sounds also, the flexible, thrive at your own pace. I think really it captures the essence of what we're doing, and it really hits it on the head. So that is, I think that was well presented. Then on the I call it logo now itself, I get what you're trying to do with the F, but to me, it doesn't really look like an F, especially when it's by itself. I think if it's when it's the whole word flexible, then it's kind of intuitive, okay, that's F flex, but it doesn't really look like an F to me. And I don't know if that's a big deal, especially when you put the F by itself. I think it would be hard for someone to guess that that's an F. And I appreciate, trying to not to make it look like a conventional or traditional F. But I just thought if we're going to have to use that standalone logo, and we will have to for some scenarios, then it really doesn't say F to me. What else? And yeah, I mean, I get Dolly's point to the colors. I personally like purple. But yeah, if they're going to be, they're going to put us side by side, somebody else, then probably not. Yeah. So and again, something I spoke with Kemi about was it would have been great to kind of see at least two options side by side, just so that you could, weigh, the benefits of two different options, and then get to like choose one and not just have like one option. But yeah, I really like, what we have for now, but those are my comments.
Hello. Okay, Tala, are you back? Hello, Tala.
Yeah, I'm back.
Okay, did you hear the comment?
Yeah, I
And
did.
is there anything you would like to respond to?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, thanks for your feedback. Yeah, I know a lot of what you said has been is something we've considered too. So the feedback is accurate. However, I think I'll start from Dolly's first feedback about the difference in the typeface, and just to reiterate the fact that for us, we're thinking that hard wall is not necessary in terms of having two different fonts in the brand name. You already have two different words. It's already a word that doesn't exist, and we don't want further establish the fact that this word doesn't exist. As a matter of fact, we want the word to become a regular word, just like Google is a regular word. You have this, we want them to read it as Flexable. We don't want them to read it as Flexable. We want them to read it as Flexible. You understand? So from the last design, we were thinking, oh, the contrast was a bit too much, and it didn't make it seem like a unified identity. It just seemed like, oh, trying to marry two things together. But we want it to be one thing. You understand, that expresses two different values was one thing. So we want people to be able to own the logo the way we want people to be able to own the name in a way that it doesn't seem like an English word. So you're still trying to put together two English words as opposed to putting together a brand name. With the color, I was kind of thinking of, like I said when I was presenting earlier, that it's hard to own colors right now. It's so hard. If you were to go into any space, you would either see that somebody else owns that color, or someone is coming right behind you to own that color, or to use the same color. So yeah, in the space, we thought of CUDA. CUDA does use purple. But the thing is, when we think about it, can we think of too many others aside CUDA? And then we kind of look at it and say, okay, is CUDA using purple and Flexable using purple? Is it actually a disadvantage? And you see, a lot of times as startups, we kind of aim for that originality, which might work against us. You understand? Just trying to come out, just having our own original colors from the get-go, and it might work against us. And that's where we kind of think we want people at a point to think it's CUDA, to get people's attention and say, okay, it's CUDA, and this, okay, this is not CUDA, what is it? You understand? Or else it could be very dismissive of, we don't know these people, and they don't even catch anybody's attention that way. So it's better to look like a giant and people will come close and say, oh, who are these people? Than to try to be original and look like an individual. People like they say, okay, I'm used to the giant, I'd rather work with the giant. So I feel the leaning into the fact that, number one, we cannot own any color in the spectrum right now. Not possible. We can't own any color, whether blue, red, yellow, green. You would always find somebody in the market that is using that same color as you. So what we want to do is try to, number one, limit the amount of people we're having to compete with, and check the people that we're competing with and see if even competing with them can get us some attention. So it's not a bad thing. In my opinion, I don't think it's a bad thing for it to have the same colors as CUDA. I really don't think so. Or else, to own a color, there's one way we can own a color, and that is by taking some ridiculous color. And and that's when you're trying to be really original, and then you now take a color that, just for the sake of originality, number one, is hard to reproduce, it's hard to identify, it's hard to name what the color is. Then it's hard for it to be memorable at the end of the day. You understand? So I just feel better to be in a space to say, okay, the purple brands are CUDA and Flexable. You understand? Than CUDA, Flexable, this, and this. You understand? So I just think we just need to cut our losses when it comes to colors. Just like we have to cut our losses when it comes to domain names in today's world. We just need to do, okay, which one can stand out the best? Because everything is almost taken as a .com. Then with the using of like a gradient or ombre type color scheme, it looks good digitally. But it always comes down to the question, what is the color? You understand? When you have that gradation from blue to green, you now ask, what is the color? If we were to print in one color, what do we print in? Do we print in blue or green? And this is something that we've experienced with brands that we worked with in the past. It looks really good when we have that nice little gradation going. Looks good. But then when you have to print on a form that is one color, how do you print? One color. Do you choose green or do you choose? When you have to choose a line arc for your ID card, which one do you choose? Blue or green? You understand? So it leads to more confusion down the line from our experience. It looks good, but in the end, there's no identity per se. There's none. There's no identity per se. So it would be good for us to have one color instead of that gradation. We could choose that having different colors, like Google has, where you have different colors. But the problem with that is that, remember, the personality is friendly, young, friendly, approachable, young, innovative. There's a thin line there that if you cross, you go into the realm of playful. It's just so easy when you're going for that young and friendly. It's so easy to tip it to playful, which is not what we're going for at all yet. As in that is even a no-no with your type of business. A no-no. So when you now put in those extra colors, you kind of tip the balance and people just think it's playful. And when it comes to playful, you kind of lose trust. And that's not what we are going for. Understand? It's still serious business. At the end of the day, it's still serious business. It's still people's lives. You understand? It still has to do with money. We just want to make it more approachable, not playful, more approachable. You understand? So I think we just want to be careful about the emotions